Leopard geckos are a common reptile in the pet trade, and they're native to Asia. They're nocturnal reptiles, and they eat every little insect from crickets to different types of worms like mealworms, and they're really popular for people to breed. There's tons of different morphs and paint jobs and variations, so you can have geckos that are patternless, that have really unique patterns, really complicated patterns, different colors, albino ones, different sizes like normal, giant, and super giant, and all sorts of other variations. Even though they're really common, they have really unique traits about them. For example, they're one of the only geckos that can move their eyelids. They also have teeth, but they're extremely tiny, and they have about 100 of these that they'll lose and grow back every so often, but they still swallow their prey whole and don't really chew it up. And like every other reptile, geckos will shed off their skin. However, instead of just leaving their skin to biodegrade, they actually eat it after shedding it off to recycle those nutrients and calcium that they're losing and put it back into their system. Geckos are also capable of losing their tail or dropping their tail, and there's other lizards that can do this, but it's if that tail gets caught or gets attacked by an animal, they can drop it and escape so that they don't get killed. However, that's where they keep all of their nutrients, and that's really unique with them, because you can see just how fat they are. That's where all of their fat goes, and then they use it as they need it. However, if your gecko does lose this, it's not necessarily extremely dangerous, but you want to make sure you care for them correctly so it grows back right and they're getting the right nutrients. You can avoid it falling off pretty easily. Just make sure you don't pick up your animal by the tail or startle your gecko really badly. Other than that, it should be fine and it shouldn't drop his tail. You might be watching this because you're interested in getting a gecko and you want to know if it's right for you. And there's a lot of good reasons that you can get one. They're a really easy reptile to start with start keeping reptiles, or if you're already experienced, they're a great animal to add to your collection. They need a pretty small tank. It can just be a 20-gallon, which doesn't take up much space and isn't too expensive. They can be maybe $20 to $60 depending on where you get it and whether it can hold water or not, but it doesn't need to be able to hold water. Their tank needs some pretty simple stuff like a water bowl, a hide, a food dish, a heat pad, and some sort of substrate like reptile carpet, which is what I recommend, or some other sort of leopard gecko bedding. And you'll also probably want a thermostat and possibly a lamp that you'll keep on about 12 hours a day so that they know when it's daytime and when it's nighttime. The actual animals are also pretty cheap. You can get them just about 20 bucks if that's just kind of a regular morph, which is still really cool. And some are up to multiple thousands of dollars if they're extremely rare types of geckos. They're also pretty easy to tame. If you're getting one as a pet, you're probably going to want to be able to hold it, which you can do with these animals because they get pretty used to humans pretty quickly if you care for them correctly. You can just feed your gecko mealworms, dubia roaches, or crickets. Right now I feed my lizards mealworms because they're the easiest, they're the cheapest, and they're pretty healthy, but dubia roaches are also a good choice. I'm not a big fan of crickets, but those work too. And you're going to want to supplement these animals if you're doing mealworms or crickets with calcium and vitamin D3 to make sure your animal's getting the right nutrients. If you're getting dubia roaches, they probably don't need these supplements because they're so high in nutritional value, but you still might want to go ahead and dust these roaches also with that calcium and vitamin D3. It's pretty cheap. You can get this big container, which I still haven't run out, and it'll last you a good while. This was just a Herp highlights on some of the cool things about leopard geckos and why you might want to get one as a pet. They're easy to care for, they're fun to have, they look really cool, and they're pretty cheap. They also have some really unique things about them. So hopefully this will help you decide on what animal you should get and maybe learn something about these animals. Until then, I'm Alex from NZ Nature News, and thanks for watching.